So, well, good evening, everyone. It's really good to see you. It hasn't been too long since I was up here, but it's good to be back again. And as I have want to do, I'm going to talk a bit about an experience at the community garden that I belong to and the goings on there. The end of the growing season is here, and it's time to put the beds to sleep for the winter. Another thing that's come up was that there were people that needed signs for their plots. We have signage in each one of the plots so that it's easy for them to be found. When the available plots are handed out to newcomers in the spring, they know which is theirs and which isn't, so that is quite helpful. There being over 200 plots. Everybody has to make their own sign. And my wife, being a graphic designer, was asked to offer a sign painting workshop so that people that needed help could get some guidance. Paint brushes and paint stencil and boards were provided, and they just had to come up with their own idea of how they wanted the sign to look. When you look around the garden, most plots already have signs. Some are really quite complex, and people have put a lot of time in on them, and I'm actually pretty amazed at how nice they look. And they are quite beautiful and have all kinds of interesting things on them. And others are very simple, just the letters and the numbers. The people that came to the workshop had quite a range in age. Some were at retirement age, some were parents with young children. What I found interesting was that the children approached the sign painting project compared, or how they approached it was so compared to the older people was so different. One of the fathers had a little girl who I believe was about 2 years old. Her father let her do the preliminary work on the background of the sign. So she went over and looked at the colors, and with no hesitation, present in the moment and focused, she picked up red, yellow, and blue paint. And I'm not sure if she got anything else, but anyway, she had a good time picking out the paint, and then went over to the table and sat down. The board for the sign was laying flat, so she took the top off the paint container, which had a spout with a small hole, and she just got in there and had a great time squirting paint all over the board, and some on the table and some on her, but it was all over the place. And she did that with each of the colors. Then she kind of mushed it around with her hands a bit. And then she squirted on more paint. And then she mushed that around some more. And by the time she got done, she had paint all over herself from one end to the other. She was really a mess. She had a great time, and she was free, just exploring, not having any real idea of what she was trying to create, but just experiencing the paint and the colors and what came of putting the colors together. And then she pushed them around. It turned out very nicely, and Jackson Pollock would have been quite proud of her. He would have really got a kick out of it. Later, after the paint was dry, her father painted the numbers on, and it looked really pretty good. I was really kind of surprised, and they now have it hanging in their garden plot. In contrast, the older people came to the projects thinking that there was a right way and a wrong way to do it. They were asking, what kind of background should I put down? What color should I use for the background? Some of them were very unsure, not wanting to explore and to take a chance. Should it be this way? Should it be that way? And wanted to know exactly how to paint the sign, and they were hesitant to explore, or weren't even interested in exploring at all. They only wanted to be certain of being successful. After they got a bit of instruction and got started, some of them did uh, do some exploration and had really a lot of fun. And they were happy with the outcome. I think they all did have a good time to some extent, but not the same way as the little girl. The little girl was free and easy and didn't get frustrated. Weren't the brushes that were provided weren't the best and made it difficult to be precise. And the older people were so caught up in what was the right way and what was the wrong way and what was the best way and what was the worst way to approach the painting. They got frustrated, and one person couldn't even get started for fear of making a mistake and it not coming out perfectly. It's important to be able to just step back and observe. When we are free to decide where to go next, to explore, and or to ask for advice. Watching the little girl made me aware that having a beginner's mind allows us to tap into our creativity, not being hampered by our preconceived ideas. And this reminded me of this koan. Case 80 in the Blue Cliff Record. Zhao Ju's newborn baby. A monk asked Zhao Ju, "Does a newborn baby have the sixth consciousness?" Zhao Ju said, "Like tossing a ball on swift flowing water." The monk also asked Tao Tzu, "What is the meaning of tossing a ball on swift flowing water?" Tao Tzu said, "Moment to moment, non-stop flowing." In the commentary it says, "Sense faculties, sense objects, and consciousness of the sensations are three originally. We are unable to discriminate among the sense objects before us. But the subtle inner faculties can produce consciousness, and consciousness can reveal discrimination of forms. This is the sixth consciousness, conceptual thinking. The seventh consciousness is manas. It can go and take hold of the imaginary things of the world and cause a person to be vexed and troubled so that he doesn't attain freedom in an independence. As for the eighth consciousness, it's called the storehouse of consciousness. It contains all the seeds of good and evil." For most of my life, babies haven't been of much interest to me. Not that they're not cute and cuddly and squirmy and fun to be around, but I just didn't see what was going on with them at all. But reading this commentary made me see that they are aware and focused, exploring their new environment with a beginner's mind that I had never considered, and so my view has changed completely. And this reminds me of Joshu said, this reminds me of Joshu said, "If I find an 80-year-old man who can learn from me, I will gladly teach him. And if I find an 8-year-old child who can teach me, I'll gladly learn from him." And I'll add to that, I'd be glad to learn from a 2-year-old. 2-year-olds are very smart. The sixth consciousness, discrimination of forms, is that something newborn babies have? Babies really have a beginner's mind, don't they? Newborn babies are present in the moment and focused, able to discriminate one thing from another, moment by moment, like tossing a ball on swift-flowing water. What I've also noticed about newborn babies is that they experience what's happening right now, this very moment. I'm tired, I'm hungry, I'm uncomfortable, and they act on that. But that's not really quite correct, I think. They experience the sensation of comfort as opposed to discomfort, but they don't know what to do about it. They just do what comes naturally and very often just cry. When they're awake, they're constantly active. Heads turning, eyes looking around and staring at times. Hands touching, holding on to fingers, holding on to my finger, holding on to your finger. And mouth tasting everything and anything that gets into it. They are flowing moment to moment with no expectations, freely exploring, but no idea of long or short, in or out, up and down, hot or cold. None of that. Just getting a handle on everything. It's surprising how quickly babies start to distinguish one thing from another, though, and have preferences. I noticed that when the little girl was painting, some colors interested her more than others. When her father told her that they needed to stop painting and get cleaned up, there was no two ways about it. She was not happy, and she cried and squirmed, and she made her unhappiness quite clear. But after she got cleaned up, she was asked if she would like to go pick raspberries. She was in the flow of the moment and excitedly went off to pick the berries. She was very happy about that. Things are constantly changing in my life moment to moment, just like the little girl. And I'm very, very often trying to desperately hold on, trying to keep things the same, even though it's obvious that things are constantly changing and that there is nothing really to hold on to. I still go ahead and try anyway, though. When it's time for zazen, we're encouraged to come with no expectations, not knowing, a beginner's mind. But isn't that interesting that a beginner's mind is exactly what a baby has? It's kind of like you have to kind of relearn all that. It can distinguish forms and doesn't bring anything to them, just like we do in zazen, sitting and being aware and focused, just experiencing how it is in the very moment as it flows on and on, much like the experience of a newborn baby. What good is this, you might ask? It allows us to experience our lives and act without the burden of all the ideas we have accumulated over the years, and that we use to block our ability to freely explore and discover and to be creative, doing things we haven't even imagined. It's important to remember, though, that we also need some of these ideas we've collected. They are necessary to our survival, so balancing between the two is critical to our survival and our happiness, and we need to stay on the middle path. And of course, we veer every once in a while, quite often actually. I know I do. But always best in the middle. Coming to the sign painting workshop without a beginner's mind like the child, the adults were often perplexed. They all had a specific goal in mind. Some just wanted a sign that was easy to read, and others wanted legibility as well as something decorative and attractive. Because of the limitations of the well-used brushes and paints, some of them found it daunting, but saw what might be possible and worked with it. They also had a lot of fun. But one person was so caught up, as I had said before, with the sign being perfect, that they were unable to even get started. They couldn't even put paint to the through the board, and I thought that was really very sad. She never did paint the sign. I was surprised that coming with a beginner's mind also showed up in an introductory class on chaplaincy that I'm taking. The other night we watched a segment from a 2004 TV series House. We were told to watch and to jot down what we observed. Not what we do and not what we thought should have been done, just what we observed. It is very difficult to just observe without thinking about what I would do in a situation. And I wasn't the only one that had trouble with it. The instructor pointed out how important it was to observe as much as possible for better understanding. She pointed out moral distress as one of the things that was in the segment, and I'd missed that, even though it was quite evident in the segment. Everything that's observed can have an impact on how we interact with a person that needs care. And the ideas that we learn in the class also need to be kept in mind. We watched the segment a second time. I think of myself as being pretty observant, but I was surprised at how much I'd missed, and it was very humbling. We're constantly encountering unexpected things that are changing in our lives, from painting signs to what to wear for work, to how to give care where and when it's needed. We seldom have any idea of what's coming next. Being able to step back and observe with a beginner's mind and not react, waiting and observing patiently, we are then able to determine what is needed in any given moment, and that's something we need to practice in all aspects of our lives. It opens up freedom and infinite creative possibilities that we might never have thought possible. I have a short poem. It's a rather simple poem, but I like the feel of it, and it's called "Each Moment is Precious" by Patricia Fleming, and this is just an excerpt. It says, "Live in the moment. Just take it all in. Pay attention to everything, right there and right then. Don't let your mind wander to what's coming next. Cherish this moment and give it your best." So, thank you.